Guys, above average back. This is probably gonna be one of my best tip videos. Not one of my best, but one of the most important tip videos that I'm gonna give on my channel. I think this tip is what took me from going like X3 drop at locals to consistently winning or doing really well at locals and at regionals, etc. So if you're not doing it already, you should watch old deck profiles. Just try to consume as many deck profiles as you can of players that win events, players that do really well consistently. If you see your deck, just try to watch deck profiles on the deck that you're playing, and also the format. So if a format from a couple of years ago is similar to the one that you're playing in now, watch those old deck profiles, because you could learn about certain tech cards, or maybe there's certain extra deck cards that you could play. A perfect example is now when Cashier was the best deck, people went back to Zodiac format, right? And then they saw what cards were good in Zodiac format, so people started playing Lance. People experimented with Book of Moon, Book of Eclipse, cards that were good back then, and then the cards turned out to be amazing in the format. So try to look at old formats and see how, try to find similarities with the old formats with the one that you're in now, and then see if there's certain tech cards that you could take from back then. Another thing is find old pro players. I think these people, like the way that they think, the reason why they did consistently well is because they always challenge like conventional thinking. And now we kind of see like a trend where everyone kind of builds their deck the same way, or like they follow a certain famous pro player, and then they kind of build their deck or think about the game the same way that these pro players think about the game. Which, not that it's wrong, it's just that like you kind of like honing in your mindset and like your idea and how to build your deck, or how to think. Where if you go back and you start watching like old pro players, like like Johnny Lee, Mike Albanese, just a few ones that I love, Patrick Hoban, even the old like Chris LeBlanc videos, or Thomas Rose, one of my favorite players of all time. If you watch their profiles, like their old profiles of them winning ARGs, winning YCSs, Nats, or doing very, very well, there's always something very interesting to take away from their deck profiles. Like the way that they talk about their cards, the way that they think about the game is nowhere near the same as how people think about it now. So just watching those old profiles of those famous players, even if they don't win, like let's say they get top 8 at an ARG or top 16 at Nats, I think those are just excellent deck profiles to consume. And you could extract a lot of valuable information off those profiles. I think that's for sure, like, if I could put it in my top 5 tips, this would definitely be in my top 5 tips. Just to take you from a player that does maybe decent at a local level to doing really well at a local level. Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's an easy one, right? All you have to do is sit there and watch a YouTube video, right? But think about it. Now we have access to so much information, rather than back then, where people, like 7-8 years ago, people had to wait a while, or they had to have like connections to get access to what deck did really well, or a lot of people didn't have Yu-Gi-Oh channels back then. So if you wanted information, you kind of had to get in contact with the people, etc. Now we have so much information instantly available to us, right? If a pro player tops, we know the list right away. We can watch his deck profile. He's going to release a deck profile right away, right? As opposed to back then, where 7-8 years ago, people didn't have that, right? They couldn't go further back 7-8 years ago, right, to watch a deck profile. It's just not a thing. Or they had to have connections. So I think definitely use that. It's a resource, right? It's a resource that we have now. It's a luxury that us Yu-Gi-Oh players have now, and I think it's a little stupid not to take advantage of that, because if you don't, the other players will, and they're gonna have an edge over you in deck building and strategy and what deck to play, stuff like that. So yeah, watch old deck profiles to get more wins and become above average.